What's up to Lion Talk Live? We love you too, buddy.
What's going on, guys? It is Aiden Hutchinson.
What's up, man? It's your boy Amon-Ra St. Brown.
What's up, everybody? It's Calvin Johnson Jr. here, a.k.a. Megatron, a.k.a. First Ballot.
What's going on, Coach Dan at Lions Talk Live and the Duke Crew? This is Ball Hawk Ifeatu Melifonwu of the Detroit Lions. Everybody make sure you help support the YouTube channel Lions Talk Live by clicking that like and subscribe button. Let's get it and go Detroit.
Greetings and salutations to everyone out there in YouTube land. This is Dan Skipper, offensive weapon for the Detroit Lions. Make sure you all help support Lions Talk Live and Coach Dan by clicking on that like and subscribe button. Everybody, woo!
I love nothing more than watching Lions Talk Live every morning. Woo!
All right, greetings and salutations to everybody out there in YouTube land. I am your host once again, Dan Thornton. I want to thank you all for joining us here today, Sunday morning, 2 weeks away from the start of the NFL season. And you know what? We got Lions Talk Live. We're trying to get this thing up and running for you guys. And I think we've had a lot of debates in recent days, recent weeks about, hey, who is actually going to make this 53-man roster? Who are going to be the backup quarterbacks? Do we have any depth for a wide receiver 4 or 5, etc.? We've got a lot of things that are going to shake out in the next, say, 48 hours before the final 53-man roster is revealed. And I think, hey, there's going to be some real good talent that everybody's going to be scratching their head going, why is that guy not in Detroit anymore? Other teams are going to be saying, thank you very much for it. Thank you for sending them our way. But whatever it is, hey, you can't keep them all. And unfortunately, Lions have a gluttony of talent, as we're going to see, because you could tell from the thumbnail here within. We're going to do the 53-man roster cut down today, the final predictions from Lions Talk Live, who's going to make it, who's going to be out of here, etc. And I did include some practice squad guys, maybe not a full practice squad, but enough to at least we got a pretty good idea on some stuff. Real quick, before we go ahead and get into everything, if, as you guys know, unless you're new to the show, if you haven't yet subscribed to Lions Talk Live, please consider doing so. Making that push for 7,500 subs. And I want to say we're about like 50 away, something like that. Maybe I'm wrong. Yeah, 52 away, if I want to be specific. 52 subs away from that. So if you can help on out, let's try to get there today, and then we can get the march on over to 7,600. So, excuse me, we're making the push for 7,500. We're 52 away. Man, it's early, and I haven't had my morning Mountain Dew, so forgive me. Also, if you enjoy the video and everything we do here on the channel, go ahead and hit that thumbs up button, the like button, all that kind of stuff button. As you guys know, it helps the channel out a lot. So if you would be so kind, take a half second of time, hit that thumbs up button. It is free of charge. Last but not least, if you are not aware, outside of being a YouTuber and a coach, I am a realtor. So if you can, give me a call, shoot me a text, 269-998-2384. If you're looking to buy or sell property anywhere in the great state of Michigan, go ahead and text me, call me, whatever you want to do. If you're outside of the state of Michigan, you can still contact me. We just have to do some things a little bit differently. All right, with all those formalities out of the way, let's go ahead and get into the first segment of the day. And as you guys know, it is 5 headlines now, so let's get into them. All right, 5 headlines now. We were talking about this a little bit yesterday. If you were watching Micro Mike's show, I was trying to give him some assistance yesterday, giving him some tidbits, insider information as it came to me. Ife Melifonwu might be out a little bit. No news, no specifics on the injury or how long, but MCDC's comments were telling. He doesn't know. He did say he did not know if it would be a short time or a long time or maybe indefinitely for the season. So whatever the injury is, it's nondescript and he could be out a bit. So this is corroborated also by Sports Illustrated. John Macron, who you guys know covers the team in depth for some time, does also sound like throughout this article and some quotes MCDC gave yesterday that Craig Reynolds should be fairly good. Number you're going to ask about Broderick Martin. DC did mention that he did hyperextend or flex his knee. So how long is he going to be gone? I don't know. My guess is he's got a shot at being back for opening night since it is 2 weeks away. But he is a little bit younger, so that's going to help with the healing process as well. But we'll have to wait and see. But both Iffy and Broderick Martin could potentially be out that game. Again, I do want to reiterate, there's no firm word one way or the other on their injuries if they're going to be out for a bit. All right, with the Lions ticket sales as we go into the next one at an all-time high and sold out, there are scammers out there baking and shaking, trying to rob you of your money, let alone your tickets. Unfortunately, this has become a thing, and as you can see from clickondetroit.com, Detroit Lions season ticket holders discover their tickets have vanished due to elaborate schemes. So I won't go into the full dive of it all, but if you do have season tickets or know somebody who does, they may want to check on them. Click on Detroit did have a pretty good article on it. There was one gentleman they were highlighting in the article that had been a season ticket holder for 34 years, and he was finding out that I guess when he logged in the other day, he did not have his tickets. So somebody had relieved them from him, I should say. So scammers are out there. Try to do your best to avoid them and pay attention to what you have. All right, Pittsburgh Steelers set rare mark in franchise history with loss to the Detroit Lions. This is from PennLive.com. Detroit Lions helped the Pittsburgh Steelers set a record for the franchise, going winless in the preseason and doing so in late fashion, etc. As everybody watched the game yesterday. Actually, for a preseason game, I thought it was pretty interesting. I thought it had some real good flow, a lot of good things to see. But for the Pittsburgh Steelers and their storied franchise, they set a dubious mark of going winless in the preseason. And you can thank the Detroit Lions for that. All right. Lions quarterback Hendon Hooker simply electric when he runs. This is from the Detroit Free Press. This is a paid article, so you do have to be a member to fully read it. But anybody who's watching Hendon Hooker, as we'll dive into today when we do the 53-man roster reveal, the final one from us, I don't think anybody's doubting his athleticism, his arm strength, anything like that. He's got some wheels, man. He's got some size, too. He is not a small human being. So over time, as he grows and evolves, the Detroit Lions may have a really good setup there for a dual threat quarterback. We'll see what shakes out in time. But so far, I would say the early returns on Hendon Hooker are pretty good. Not going to say he's ready to be a starting quarterback in Detroit or anything like that, but you can definitely see why people would have drafted him in the first round if he didn't sustain that ACL injury. All right, and last of our 5 headlines now, Detroit Lions historical exhibit. Thank you. Features items straight from the NFL Hall of Fame. This is from MLive.com. So the Detroit Downtown Museum has an exhibit going on right now where it does focus on the Detroit Lions, football history here with the franchise, etc. So if you got some free time, you want to head over to the museum, check out some of the historical history of the franchise, some of the Hall of Fame items there. Go ahead and do it, man. It might not be a bad thing to do as you get ready for the start of the regular season. All right, now let's real quick head over to the main topic of the day. And I think, man, we're going to have some talk and some conversations about this 53-man roster breakdown. So without further ado, let's main topic. All right, so just also before I forget, just so you guys know, Hutch Jr. is going to join us at the bottom of the hour. Let's see. He's confirmed he's going to be here at the bottom of the hour. Also, one other thing I want to throw at you guys. I know I mentioned on Micro Mike's yesterday, I was some local media people were trying to give me some insights on it. And I know there were some other people, some of you guys that were at the games throwing me some stuff. But Gibbs was on the field yesterday along with Sam Laporta. We did have the Detroit Lions starters dressed in warmups. At least the vast majority of them were dressed. I believe, as we reported on Micro Mike's live cast yesterday, that's an indication to me the coaching staff is trying to do everything they can to get the guys as used to game-like situations as possible without putting the starters in the game. So have them go through warm-ups, have them fully dressed, all that kind of stuff. Make it, when they go out there against the Rams, as familiar as possible. Part of those warm-ups, though, as I mentioned, is Gibbs and Laporta were out there running routes, doing stuff to warm up and things like that. And there is some video you can find on social media or Twitter and things like that, or X, whatever you call it now, that you can go ahead and check it out, see it. And yes, for sure, you can see Gibbs running pretty fluidly. Didn't look like he was hampered at all. So I would say this. I do anticipate both guys are going to be fully good to go by the time we play the Rams in 2 weeks. All right, without further ado, let's pull this up here. Let's get to the shared screen, pull up the notes. I did it on a different format this week for you guys. Some of you said that it was tough to read the Microsoft Word format. So I'm going to use this notes format. It should be a little bit bigger. The downside is I can't color code things, so we'll just have to try to go through it. All right, so let me try to make this full screen, make it a little bit better for you guys. It's as big as I can get it. That's nearly full screen, so I'll just walk you guys through it. Let's take it to the top and start, obviously, with a quarterback situation. In this scenario, because of some of the comments from MCDC himself, Dan Campbell, I do believe Jared Goff will be number 1, Nate Sudfeld number 2, and Hendon Hooker number 3. Probably a lot of people don't want to hear that, but when I watch Hendon Hooker, I think he has progressed. As we were talking about earlier, I think he's clearly got all the athleticism in the world you could want for a quarterback. What I also think is he's slow to go through reads, something Nate Sudfeld doesn't have, at least currently. Do I think as the season progresses, though, Hooker will supplant Sudfeld? I do. And I think at that point, Sudfeld will probably be put on the practice squad. Currently, as you're saying, Jake Fromm is going to be on the practice squad for us, assuming he clears waivers and all that kind of stuff. I do believe he'll be there, so we'll end up with 4 quarterbacks from on the practice squad. Keep in mind, with this 53-man roster, this is just for week 1. As we all know, it can change week to week. So I do think in time, Hooker supplants Nate Sudfeld and becomes the number 2 quarterback, but at least at the start of the season, I'm going to say it's probably Sudfeld at this time. Could be wrong on that, though. All right, running backs in Montgomery, Gibbs, Bakke, Reynolds. Out is going to be Zonovan Knight and Jefferson. So I like Jefferson. I liked what he did. I thought he had a lot of good stuff, but it's also watching some of the holes that were there. I think anybody could have really ran through those in regards to yesterday. So I do think Knight will be put on the practice squad. Jefferson could too, but I think they're only going to keep one of them there. Wide receivers, this is where it probably gets a little interesting for everybody. Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jamison Williams, no surprises there. Khalif Raymond, everybody keeps saying we need a number 3. MCDC has flat out told us he is the number 3. But Isaiah Williams, I don't think there's a massive surprise for anybody here. He's going to be the number 4 receiver just because his performance has been lights out, I think. In every week, you are seeing more and more from him. I really do think they may look to add another receiver, potentially a 5th, but that's going to come down to what's going to happen in the next 72 hours. It is my anticipation we are going to make a trade for a wide receiver. It's my anticipation some of the excess that we have at different positions will be attractive to teams that have abundance of wide receivers. The one thing I would say is when you look across the league, you do see a lot of teams that have an abundance of wide receivers. So I would not be surprised at all if Brad Holmes went into this offseason saying, hey, we're going to carry some other parts here and let somebody else who has a gluttony of wide receivers develop a guy for us. I mean, that's total speculation by myself, but that's where I think they're going with things. So out, Donovan Peoples-Jones, Caden Davis, Fountain, Kennedy, Alexander, Calhoun. Probably, I don't think there's a big surprise there for anybody. I do think Davis and Alexander could potentially make it to the practice squad. I don't think either one of them are going to be snagged, but one never knows. Tight end, I went from 4 guys, as you know, in the first 2 weeks to now just 3 guys here, and we'll get into that in a second. So Laporta in, especially since you could see him running routes and everything yesterday, I don't think he's going to be a pub candidate. I think he's going to be fully good to go. Brock Wright, not a surprise there. He's going to be your primary backup. Zane Zylstra, I do have now beating out Parker Hess and James Mitchell. I've been kind of going back and forth, him and hawing about Hess and Mitchell, and an argument could be made for either guy to make the team without question. I think the problem is just Zylstra's size and his ability to hit a very specific niche target, and the fact that he is a threat as a wide receiver. Hess, blocker, James Mitchell, a little bit of both, but you'll get my logic here in a minute when I explain this. I think our blocking tight end is going to go back to basically what we've done last year. To be fair, the last few years where we're going to use an offensive lineman in that role, maybe a linebacker, Rodrigo in certain situations as well. So, and because of that logic by myself, or that line of thinking, I should say, that removed Parker Hess from his spot, because basically you've already got that there with a blocking tight end. Mitchell, he does a little bit of both. I just don't think he's shown enough to beat out Zylstra, so go from there. I do have Parker Hess making the practice squad. All right, offensive lineman. I've originally the last month I've had us carrying 10. I still do in a sense, but you'll see why. All right, Frank Ragnow, no surprise there. Graham Glasgow, Kevin Zittler, Taylor Decker, Panay Sewell, Kobe Sorsdale, Dan Skipper, Giovanni Manu, Yodi, I always kill his name, Yokeda Oskwa. They're all in. So, and I was kind of on the fence about Yodi or Yoda, if you guys want, for a few weeks now. I had him not making the team and Christian Mahogany making the team. Difference is I think they're going to use all full, 4 weeks for Mahogany on the NFI list as far as his recovery time frame before they have to make a choice. So that's why I've got him in on NFI and Yodi now on the active roster. Nice, I liked him. Kingsley, I liked him a whole lot. I thought in the last week or two he'd really skyrocketed up the charts. You guys have also heard me talk about Duke Clemens. Jamarco Jones, I think he's shown well. So let's pay attention to what happens with Jones, Clemens, and Kingsley there, because I think all three of them could potentially be trade targets to other teams. And could we get a wide receiver or something else there? I do think that's a possibility because I think all three guys can play at a pretty high level. I would even say in some bad offensive lines, I think Jamarco Jones could start at a tackle spot for you in a lot of NFL teams. But that's also a credit to how good we've done with some of these other guys. So we'll see what shakes out. All right, defensive line, DJ Reader, no surprise in. McNeil in. Levi in. Broderick Martin in. Pico in. Makai Wingo in. No surprise there. Chris Smith out at tackle. I don't think anybody's going to have issues with that. Broderick Martin, like I said, he's got a hyperextended knee. My guess is he's probably good to go against the Rams in 2 weeks, unless that thing's just really, really not good. But my guess is they're going to have to tape it up and brace it up probably all season long just to prevent any kind of other issues with it. All right, defensive end. This is probably another spot where it will get a little interesting to some viewers or watchers. Aiden Hutchinson, not a surprise he's in. Davenport, good. Josh Pascal, I was a little surprised they played him yesterday, but hey, yeah, I thought he did well. Isaac Ukwa, him and Aguye, both of them, I think there's a strong possibility teams come calling to try to acquire one of them. Same with James Mitchell. James Houston, excuse me. Let's be honest. All three of them can get to the quarterback. All three of them also have weaknesses in their game. But I also think they're so good at what they do in their specifics, and there are some nuanced differences between the three. I think you got to keep them all because pass rushing or pass rushers are at such a premium. Also, when you look back at the defensive line, the interior defensive line that we kept, I think there is a huge, unlike most other seasons, a huge symbiotic relationship between these guys and these guys. And I'm not sure if you guys can even see my cursors. I think there's a lot of flexibility for Aaron Glenn to be able to use these guys in tandem with each other. I do believe there will be a lot of situations where you'll see Levi, Aleem, and DJ all at the same time. And you could say the same thing for Pico, Wingo, and Broderick Martin as well. So if three of those guys are out there, you as your interior defensive lineman, or just hold the lanes and the rush running lanes, etc., then you can free up some of these guys at defensive end to get to the quarterback a little bit more. Betts to practice squad if he should so wish to. But I do think if Matthew Betts gets cut, which I'm anticipating he is, there could potentially be some other teams that come calling to acquire him. He's done enough, I think, in the last 2 games to earn a call from some teams. Unfortunately, I think he's the odd man out in this very deep group. Linebacker, Anzalone, Campbell, Barnes, Jalen Reeves, Mabin. And here's the one I really went back and forth with because you guys know I like Abraham Beauplan, the Beauplan man, as Bo would say. But Ty Summers, man, he's looked pretty dang good. And rewatching tape of his time with the Lions, I mean, you are splitting such hairs with some of these guys, like who's in, who's out, and that's a credit how deep this team really is. But Ty Summers, I think he can give you a little bit more than Beauplan. The one thing I would say, if they didn't go with Ty Summers and with Beauplan, here would be my logic behind keeping Beauplan on the active roster, is that he could play some tight end and fullback as well. Summers, at least to the best of my knowledge, cannot do that or does not do that. But this was probably one of the tougher ones for me to call when I had to sit down and break them all down. But I really was very impressed with Summers, but I've been also impressed with Beauplan as well. I've got Beauplan going to the practice squad. Malcolm Rodriguez is going to start the year on the PUB list. He's still in a bad spot physically, so give him time. He'll be right as rain, I anticipate. All right, moving on to the cornerback situation. In Carlton Davis, Terrion Arnold, Rakestraw, Robertson, Vildor, Dorsey. And that's a very, very deep lineup. And this doesn't even include, I didn't put it up there as far as, I'm drawing a blank on his name, Manuel Mosley, E-Man. So whenever he gets cleared to come back, if he does, then this group could be even deeper, assuming he'd stay healthy. So out, Stephen Gilmore, Baisley, Gooddry, and a Wild Goose. And I have Gilmore back to the practice squad. I don't think he's going to last, so I think he will be picked up by somebody else. Let's see, safeties, Kirby Joseph, Brian Branch, Brandon Joseph, CJ Moore. I did not have CJ Moore making it. I just didn't think he was going to be able to do it, but because I've got Ife Melifanu, at least currently on the PUB list, CJ Moore makes it. An argument could be made for Lauren Strickland. He has shown out, I think, pretty dang well. That's why I have Strickland on the practice squad at this time. But Iffy, until that situation, we know more information. I think CJ Moore makes it just because of that. So we'll see. Special teams, Jake Bates, yes, he had a rough day yesterday, but overall, when you look at the preseason, he's had a pretty good preseason. Doesn't mean it can't go better because it's going to need to go better. But then Jack Fox and Scott Daly rounded out. All right, Duke Crew, there you go. I'll stop sharing the screen and get back on the screen for you. What do you guys have to think about all this? Let's go ahead and head over to the comment section. We got about 8-10 minutes or so until Hutch Jr. joins us on air. So let's try to get through as many of these comments as I can until then. All right, I see the comment section is pretty deep this morning. Michael D. Green's salutations, Coach and Duke Crew, exclamation points, Super Bowl or bust one prime. Woo, woo. And good morning to you too. JDC, morning all, morning you. Jason, Green's salutations. Imagine from or Hooker with our first team offense. My confidence in our backup quarterbacks is vastly improving. Yeah, and I think everybody after yesterday feels the same way, Jason, that the backups are there. The only reason why I put Sudfeld in is because of all the commentary from Ben Johnson and MCDC. They seem to have confidence in him that you and I and everybody else watching probably lacks. That's why, at least for right now, I've got him as the number 2. I'm surprised by that, but hey, coach is going to go with what they believe in. See, Dennis, good morning, Dan, the Duke Crew. I need one of those wrenches, laughing out loud. Dan, go Lions. Yeah, there's a couple other of you guys I'll reach out to just so we have a little bit more, feet on the floor in the comment section. Bo, good morning, Duke Crew. We're here, exclamation point. We're here, exclamation point. I see Super Bowl. Woo! Yes, we are 2 weeks away from tonight. Can't believe it's going to be here like that, but yes, it is. See, Jason, Williams looked good with those returns. He did. And I think his receiving continues to improve. Let's keep in mind, he's only been a receiver for 2 years, so his growth is still pretty dang high. He's got potential. See, Michael, Donovan Peoples-Jones is out. Sudfeld is out. Calhoun is out. I would agree with all of them. If you were asking me, Sudfeld would not even be on the 53-man roster. I'd have him out. I would have Hooker in as probably the number 2. Maybe you have those two battle it out. But again, I'm deferring to what the coaches have said. All right, Silver Calhoun, I liked, and Isaiah Williams was better than what I thought. Yeah, Isaiah Williams, I think he's been pleasantly a surprise. See, Silver, good morning, Coach. Back at you. Bo, do we see From again? That's a big question, man. I hope I'm wrong about the Sudfeld situation. I'm hoping I misread the room from the coach's staff on him. I do hope they go with Hooker and From and not what I have predicted. See, Robert, it's go time. It is 2 weeks away. Michael D, I think Isaiah Williams makes the team. I concur with your assessment. Silver, I wonder if Chris Smith, defensive tackle, is in their plans with Martin hurt a bit. I currently have him out. I just don't think Martin's injury is going to be that significant, but been wrong before. From is Hipple, yes, I would agree. There is a striking similarity. Perryman, what do you got? Greetings, salutations, Duke Crew, all grit all day. Here comes the pain. The next few days are going to break some hearts. Yes, you're going to be a lot of sad guys coming out of Detroit, And I do think we're going to get some news almost on a daily basis. Like, I do anticipate us getting stuff today from the Detroit Lions organization regarding, maybe a move made here, move there. I do expect we'll get it just about every day as Brad Holmes keeps trying to work magic and bring in better talent for us at different spots. JDC getting real in the D, 100%. Go Lions. Robert, Coach, any chance to keep from? I think there should be, but I think, like I put on there, for whatever reasons, they have their interest in Nate Sudfeld, and that's where the coaches are probably going to go. They have a belief in him that supersedes what you and I think about him. So I do believe they're going to keep him, and that means Frum's probably on the practice squad, in my opinion. All right, back to the comment sections. We do go. My screen's moving around here. All right, From makes practice squad. I would agree. Perryman, MCDC is intrigued by From. PS at least. I'll go with that. Stephanie, good morning, boys. 2 weeks away from today we are playing. Yes, we are. Dennis, what about Houston and Betts? I've got Houston in, Betts out on the practice squad. Phil, good morning. Good morning to you, too. George, greetings and salutations all. From wasn't too bad. No, he wasn't, man. I think he is probably the most popular person on the Detroit Lions, at least this morning. And hey, this big saying, the most popular guy or the fan favorite is usually the backup quarterback. Michael, what do you got? Dennis, I agree. From is worth keeping. Woo! I would keep him, but doesn't matter what I think. Dennis, good morning, Phil. Robert, do the practice squad players practice with the 53-man dudes? Yes, they do. Yeah, they get to practice and go through all the same stuff. Yeah, they get to get developed. So that's really one of the best parts when the NFL put in the practice squad. That's one of the best things that come out of it, is that you get to protect a few more guys, get to keep working with more guys and developing some guys. I surfed all over YouTube during the game in the first quarter. In most of the chats, one thing came to mind. I find your lack of faith disturbing. There you go. All right, Darth Vader. See, Silver Server, I remember when I called Broski out, everybody jumped on me, and I said, okay, long live Broski. I was getting too serious. Now everyone upset because the Lions land. Enough of the imposter. Go Broski. All right. Yeah, and I that's also part of why we've got the moderators in here to try to help out with stuff like that. Merriman, nice Vader quote, Bo, the 100%. Jason, 3,952 minutes until our destiny officially begins. Do the math. Superdome or bust, 100%. And thank you for that mathematical equation right there. Robert Broski lost his Moski. There you go. Yeah, it's Sunday, and I think a couple of you guys said he normally doesn't come in on Sundays because of church reasons. All right, Big Eddie, how is everybody today? Question mark. I like what I've seen out of the team each practice game. I can also see why teams play their starters a bit. I don't know. I think I prefer keeping the big guns safe. There have been a lot of teams that have lost players already because of the preseason games, and some big players, and not like just the backup guys. So I do get why MCDC and the coaching staff keep them on the sidelines. Robert, yeah, get the tree out. Get the tree out. That's correct. We are getting closer to the reveal or the tree of destiny. Dennis, Broski is all right until he bashes Lions. Yeah, every once in a while, hey, like all of us, we have our moments. See, Bo, as for Suds, question mark, you have failed me for the last time. I'm hoping there's truth to that. France, good day, Duke crew, exclamation point. So my question is, Coach Dan, who is our backup quarterback? I don't feel confident in any of our current options. I would say this, if we have to go do our backup quarterbacks at this time, I think we're probably in trouble, unless the Lions really do go for somebody who's currently not on the roster. And it's no disrespect to From, it's no disrespect to Sudfeld or Hooker. I just don't see any of them being developed enough at this point to be able to go out there and win games. Dennis, Suds is a Campbell guy. It does appear so. Silver Server, let Broski speak, and if you don't want to deal with him, you do not comment his posts. That way he's going to get bored. Now, there's probably a whole lot of truth to that, Silver, a whole lot of truth. JDC, hallelujah, blue blash, we'll go with that. Perryman, Ty Summers did great, but his statement to the press was awesome. The coaches encourage violence. Yes, they do. Woo! And I agree with that. All right, so we're going to go ahead over to bring on our special guest today. So without further ado, let's get on over to Hutch Jr. All right, you guys all know him. He's been on the show once or twice over the time, and he continues to grace us with his presence. So without further ado, let's bring him on. Hutch Jr., how you doing this morning?
What's up, Dan? Good morning, guys. You guys ready for some football, man?
Who's ready for some football? Indeed. So I don't know if you got to see the 53-man roster, at least my predictions, but if you did, let's start with the quarterback room. What say you in regards to the future of the Detroit Lions backup quarterback situation?
Yeah, I think you kind of hit it on the head. I think it's Goff, Sudfield, and then Hooker. I would like to have Hooker as number 2, and I would like to have Fromm on there, but I just think Dan kind of made it apparent. He's like, I don't know if Fromm's going to play, and then he shocks us all yesterday, and then Fromm ends up playing. And to me, I mean, he looked good. I mean, he made a couple throws. Jake Funk should have caught that ball at the end there, but yeah, outside of that, no, I think you hit it on the head.
Yeah, I mean, Jake Fromm, probably a lot of us were caught off guard by the way he just performed, the way he went through reads. The one thing that really impressed me out of him is he had, I think, 2 different shots deep down the middle of the field where he laid it up perfectly over the second layer of the defense, the linebackers for the most part, and then also dropped it in before the safeties could make a play. That's big stuff right there. That's stuff for a lot of good NFL quarterbacks to do. So if you had a Scooby do this, if you had to make your own calls on the roster, would you have him on the active 53-man roster, or would he be on the practice squad?
I'd have him on the roster over Sudfield. I mean, just from what I saw mechanic-wise and what he did, I mean, you watch that Giant game and Sudfield couldn't move the ball. I mean, in very few plays, I think Fromm had like 67 or 77 yards, and he was making good reads. He was finding people. He was putting it on a dime. I mean, that throw that he made between the linebackers to Calhoun, I was just like, whoa, okay. I mean, I remember watching this guy at Georgia, and he was supposed to be, the next big thing out of Georgia, and then, kind of just never made it. But I mean, people forget 2, 3, 4 years ago, he was a decent quarterback for the Giants when he was coming into the preseason, and, he just kind of got buried on the depth chart. But no, I was really impressed by Fromm, and for him to come in 2, 3 weeks ago and try to learn this playbook and just do what he did. I mean, give Dan Campbell credit, kind of show him, get some highlight tape out there, but I ultimately think he just sits with the Lions, and maybe he ends up making the 53 during the season. So
yeah, I'm with you there. Now let's move on from the quarterback room to the running back room. Probably not a huge debate here. I think everybody's pretty enshrined with the top 3 guys, and Montgomery, Gibbs, and Vaki. But do you think there's any room or possibility, I should say, that Jefferson or Knight supplant Reynolds as the number 4 running back?
I think Jefferson's the weird one, because I remember early into training camp, Dan Campbell was giving Jefferson some high praise, saying like, hey, every day he's getting better, every day he's getting better, every day he's getting better. And then, you just kind of didn't see him in the games, and it was kind of Vaki's emergence. And I think Vaki solidified that, his roster spot. It sucks because Jamar, he had a great game yesterday. I thought he was one of the better running backs. I think he had a way better game than Zonovan Knight. And, obviously Zonovan had that injury last year, so it kind of derailed. But yeah, no, I think it's Gibbs and Monty and Vaki and Craig Reynolds. I think Craig just makes it because he's been with the team for so long. Could shock me though. I mean, there's been talks that maybe Craig doesn't make it and maybe Jefferson makes it. So we'll see, like Dan said, it's going to break, it's going to be the hardest probably roster cuts he's ever had to make. So
Yeah, they're just deep. Like when I was going through it all, just talking about different area groups or positional groups that they could trade away, and I think they do have some real good parts that other teams are going to want with the backup offensive lineman. Jones, man, I try to find different ways to keep him because I do think he could start on, we'll say, a third of NFL teams as a offensive tackle. So. All right, so going on from the running backs, let's talk about the receivers. We got St. Brown, Williams, Khalif Raymond, Isaiah Williams. So 2 Williams between a Brown and a Raymond. But do you think there's any possibility Donovan Peoples-Jones or somebody else makes the active roster?
This fall off of Donovan Peoples-Jones, I just don't get it. I was glorifying this trade when we made it last year or the year before. 6th-round pick for a guy that had 800, 900 yards with some bum QBs in Cleveland. I was like, all right, bring this guy in. He's got height. Anybody knows when he played at Michigan, he could run down the field. I was like, all right, you know what? I like it. I don't mind it. And now looking at it, I'm like, where did this guy go? Like it just shocked me, man. Like he had it's almost like he's just not even in the game anymore. He he missed a route on Hendon. He dropped a ball, and then you put guys in there like Isaiah Williams who are undrafted free agents, and they just continue to make plays. So it's just like, and not to mention we signed him in this contract in the offseason, but no, I think you hit it on the head. Isaiah Williams, he made it very clear he's not getting left off this roster, and I can't agree more. I've been saying it all off season, watching him. I'm like, man, Goff is going to make this guy a huge wide receiver. He's going to kind of play the St. Brown role in the slot, and they might move, let Saint do kind of more middle of the field stuff. But Isaiah Williams is going to have a hell of a day with Goff, man. He might have 400 or 500 yards this year. I mean, his yak yards are crazy to me. He's so smart. He knows how to get out when he's down. He knows how to break tackles, and he made this team, man. You can't take that away from him.
So when I've been trying to think about what's Ben Johnson going to do, I think there's a lot of possibility that you're going to have as the X receivers at times in certain situations. I think it is going to be Laporta and Jameson Williams, maybe even St. Brown, and that would free up someone like a Gibbs, Baki, Isaiah Williams to work more of the intermediate or short crossing routes, or the scat wide receiver routes, or slot routes. That's where I think they might ultimately end up going with things. And hey, you need to keep your best players on the field more and more. If that ends up happening, I think it would be tough to defend a lot of, Laporta out wide, St. Brown wide, Williams, Jameson Williams out wide to open up some of the speedsters underneath and force some real bad situations for linebackers or safeties. We're going to probably have to come down to pick them up. All right, let's go from the wide receiver room to the tight end room. Probably not a lot of debate here, but I had Laporta, Wright, Zylstra making it, Hess practice squad, James Mitchell, unfortunately, not making it, and then Sean McKinnon also out the door. What say you on the tight end room?
Yeah, I mean, what you just said is spot on. Mitchell had a very bad game yesterday. Missed an easy drop. That was, I like Mitchell. I remember when he was coming out, he was one of the favorite tight ends, and then he just kind of fell off. Zylstra kind of took that spot, and Brock Wright, when he came in, so yeah, it's definitely Laporta, Brock, and Zylstra. And, I think they might kind of slim up this roster just a hair in certain situations just to, maybe keep other spots open. I'm sure we'll get into that, but I wouldn't be surprised, maybe if they keep 2 or 3 tight ends or 2 or whatever, and then, maybe fill out the roster the other way. I don't see it, but yeah, I think they got to go with 3 tight ends just in case of injuries.
Yeah, and that's I think, you mentioned it where they could use Wright as a fullback or they could use different situations. I think most people do forget when James Mitchell was in college. I mean, he was legit. People were like, man, this guy's going to be a first round pick. He's going to be a top 25, pick or whatever. And then he blew out his knee. When I watch him, especially like yesterday, I just see a guy who's lost a lot of confidence in himself. And that's the tough part. He knows, just like everybody else, when they're getting out there, if you're put out there yesterday, it's either A, for developmental reasons, or B, because they believe you haven't earned a spot yet. So I feel for him. I think that's probably why he had some of the drops and miscues, is just the nerves building up, and knowing that he's fighting for his career, basically. And I think he's probably on the wrong side of the equation. I think there's just better options for Detroit right now there. All right, moving on from the tight end room, let's talk about the offensive line. I got Ragnow, Glasgow, Zettler, Decker, Sewell, Sorsdale, Skipper, Manu, and Osquada, if I pronounce that correctly, all making it. Nice, Kingsley, Hudson, Burton, Clemens, Jones out, and then Mahogany on the NFI list. I think they're going to use that with him, every day they can, just so they can keep developing him without having him count against the total. What say you on the offensive line?
I might shock you with this, but I think Jamarco Jones made this team. He didn't play at all yesterday, and I think Sorsel's out there. There's been rumors, and Sorsel looked terrible. I don't know if he's going to make this team. He might be one of the guys cut. I think they might just keep Jamarco Jones because of his experience and what they know, and they know that they might be able to use him at different spots. So, unless I'm wrong, maybe he was injured or whatever or not, but he wasn't, he wasn't out there and he wasn't dressed. And I'm pretty sure he was on the sideline if I'm not mistaken. So maybe Jamarco Jones made this team and we just don't know it yet. But I'd be very shocked because yeah, it's just weird, man. Sorsel just has those like really good games, and then he has those really, really bad games. And that old line, man, I felt so bad for Hendon Hooker, man. I was sitting there watching that game. I'm like, this man is getting beat up. Everyone's like, oh, he hangs on the ball too long. I'm like, this guy can't. The guy has 0.3 seconds to throw a ball, like
Right.
And then when he started getting time, you started seeing it. I think in his clock, the clock started going off. Just, hey, I got to run this ball. Like if I'm not gonna get time, I got to step in the pocket and take off. And you started seeing him making plays with his legs. So yeah, I don't know. My maybe question mark would be Sorso, and maybe Jamarco Jones is on this team.
Yeah, and I'm assuming you heard me earlier when I talked about him, but I really like him. I think he could start on about a third of the NFL teams. Maybe an argument could be made for half of the NFL teams out there, left or right tackle, wherever it's going to be. I really like him, but I just went with Sorsdale because he is younger. He's one of the drafted players. I think he's got a lot of inconsistency, like you said. One game he's good, the next he's not. So long term, he might be a bigger answer. But if they're really thinking about winning right now, this year, next year, etc., I wouldn't be depressed at all, any way, shape, or form, if Jamarco Jones is on this roster. That's also somebody I think teams could try to trade to acquire, because I can't be the only idiot that says, man, this guy should not be a backup in the NFL. He should be a starter. But is what it is. Situations change with everybody. All right, let's go with the interior defensive line, or the tackles. Reader, Aleem, Levi, Martin, Pico, Wingo. What say you on this group? Chris Smith out, at least currently.
Yeah, Chris Smith is going to be the tough one to leave off this roster, man. He's had a hell of a preseason, offseason. Yeah. That one kind of hurts me even just watching what he's doing. But yeah, no, I think you hit it on the head. And I think maybe, depending on the hyperextension of Broderick Martin, maybe Chris Smith is on this team for a couple weeks just to be safe. And then maybe he goes to practice squad. But yeah, no, I think you hit it on the head. Yeah, Chris Smith, man, tough for him. Looked good, great. And, like Dan Campbell said, it's just going to be tough to cut some of these guys.
Yeah, it's crazy thinking about 2-3 years ago. A lot of these guys we're talking about cutting would have been, this coaching staff would have been jumping up and down to have him on the team. But now it just is what it is. This team is incredibly deep. So could Chris Smith be someone who's traded as well? Teams trying to acquire, 6th, 7th round pick, conditional or something like that. I think there's a lot of possibility there. All right, now, if the offensive line, if some of the backups there are going to entice trades, I do think the next two groups are going to see a whole lot of action potentially from the Detroit Lions. And that's defensive end / linebacker. Hutchinson's not going anywhere. Davenport, Pascal, I think they're all locks to stay in Detroit for the foreseeable future. But now Ukwu, Houston, and Ague, I got them all making it, but I could also see teams come calling saying, hey, we don't have nearly enough people that can get to the quarterback. What's it going to take to pry one or two of these guys away? And what do you think about this group?
Yeah, Ukwu, you're definitely keeping. Houston, you can make a case for, but I think and everyone hates it. I know we're going off 2 years, but his value at the pass rush in certain situations keeps him on this team. I know Dan Campbell even said in this press conference, hey, this is going to be tough. We don't know if he's going to make it. We'll find out. I think he makes it, just because you put this man out there with Hutchinson, McNeil, Reader. This guy's going to eat, man. And, he might not develop 8 sacks, but he made a really nice play. You started to see it when he got that sack. He was in there quick, and I was like, whoa, there's Houston. And then, I thought he got the strip sack, but after looking it back, it was Ukwu. So yeah, Ukwu was on this team, man. He's really shocked me. The other guy, I think Betts is off his team. I think he maybe goes to practice squad. But Ogude, you can make a case for him too, man. Does if you let him go, does he get picked up? My thing is, man, you just got to be careful with this, because I think if you release Houston, team's gonna snag him. The worst thing is you don't want him going to the division. He might end up in the Vikings, or he might end up with the Bears. And who knows, this guy comes out and has 12 sacks, you're going to be shooting yourself in the foot, So you got to keep Houston, just because you're scared of where he could end up. I mean, everyone's going to look at his 2 years ago, like, man, this guy had 8 sacks in 6 games. all it takes is one development, and
Right.
there you go.
Yeah, I think you're spot on with it. With Houston, I get he still appears to be favoring 1 foot. I was mentioning that a lot on air yesterday. But it seems like once he gets that initial step out of the way, he forgets about it and goes. To me, that's a confidence thing. So just give him more time. He's going to be fine. I also noticed yesterday they played him heavily as the left end. So the left side of the screen, or whatever you want to say, not his normal right side. So they did play him basically, to me, as a tell, he's backing up Hutchinson. Because that typically seems to be where Hutchinson goes. Although I get everybody moves around. So we'll see what shakes out. I don't think there's any chance that if any of these guys went on the got cut and went on the waiver wire, that somebody else isn't grabbing them in a hot second. So other teams have to be aware of that too. If they're going to want this guy, unless they just have the number one selection in the releases, that they'd have no chance to get him. They're going to have to trade with Detroit to go get him. So. All right, so as deep as that group is, like the offensive line, I do think the linebacker group is outstandingly good. And it kind of broke my heart to say the Bo plan didn't make the team, but Ty Summers, man, he looked good. And I think he looked very good. I don't think he's starting material, but I also think Abraham isn't either. But both of them bring in a lot of good depth and flexibility. Bo plan, I think, can play some backup tight end and fullback as well, or at least a blocking tight end. So what say you with this group? Anzalone in, Campbell in, Barnes in, Reeves, Maben in. I had Ty Summers in as the other one.
Yeah, I was, man, ball plan, man. He looks great. He's very instinctive.
Yeah.
Man, it was a great pickup for them. I think I don't know, man. He's another one that you got to look at too. If you cut him, does he end up somewhere, So, you got him from Minnesota. He comes in and he's, for probably two of the last 3 games, he might be one of your high PFFs on defense, outside of Ty Summers. Ty Summers had a huge game, so he'll probably get the higher grade this game. But Beal plan, man, I really liked him. I was kind of watching him the whole game, and then, it's just tough, man, when you got guys like Ty Summers and those guys making plays, it kind of takes your spot, and I'm pretty sure, if I'm not mistaken, they just signed him too. They just gave him a contract offer like last week or something. So, right. I think that was kind of less. So maybe Ty Summers is on this team, and maybe they're looking for another one with Rodrigo down. So maybe Beal plan makes it, and then kind of go from there.
Yeah, to me, it's just, Bo plan, I like him a ton. I've held that back, I think, the last week or a couple weeks that he's been here. Do I think he makes the practice squad, even though I have him slated for that? No, I just think he's too dang good. He'll get picked up, but I just don't know. Could an argument be made to keep him over Summers? Sure. And then somebody else snag Summers. So one of those guys, I guess we can just say this, one of those guys is going to be here. The other one is going to probably be playing somewhere else. It's unfortunate you can't keep them all, but like we've been saying throughout a lot of these groups, outside the wide receiver room, this team's just deep everywhere. So let's go on to cornerback. I've got Carlton Davis in, Arnold in, Rakestraw in, Robertson in, Vildor and Dorsey also in. Gilmore out, Baisley, Gouldry, and Wild Goose also out. Gilmore to practice squad if he makes it. What say you on this group?
Yeah, I was hoping Wild Goose, just for the name, would make this team, but that's not going to happen. So, no, I think you hit it. Gilmore had a terrible last 2 games, man. He was getting picked on by the Steelers last game. I was really hopeful on Gilmore, so he'll probably be another practice squad guy. Yeah, and then, now with the Iffy injury, that whole moving Brian Branch to safety looks like an amazing move by Campbell. Now you can have him play, you can play Brian Branch just about anywhere now, corner, safety, nickel. But I think now that just kind of gives you your nickel with Ennis and Meek. So, now you might just take Brian Branch and move him right back to safety. That way you got that safety depth. But so, yeah, this is going to be, like you said, man, depth is the big thing with this team. We haven't talked about depth in probably 10 years, so it's a good thing to have. And, credit this coaching staff, man, because they know where talent is, they develop it, and then they put it on the roster. So, yeah, that's a good thing to have, especially if you're trying to go win a Super Bowl.
Yeah, in regards to the depth, this is probably the best team I can think of since the early 90s. An argument could be made, maybe like the 2013-14 teams were pretty dang good.
That defense was stud.
Yeah, and I'm not going to say who's better or whatever, but at least on paper, right here today, this might be the deepest team I've ever covered in any way, shape, or form since the late '80s, something like that. But going on from that, let's now go on to the safety position. Now, as we were talking about earlier, I know you and I talked last night about it. Iffy Melifanu, who knows how long he's going to be out? Could he be back tomorrow? Sure. Could he be back next season? That's also a possibility, according to MCDC. So Joseph, Brian Branch make it. I had Brandon Joseph making it anyways. I think the kid's a stud. I don't think he's as great on special teams as CJ Moore, but I think he's a much better defender. CJ Moore, I now have making it because of the special teams, and he can play some safety. He's got some wheels. But again, that's because Iffy Melifanu, I think, is going to start the season on the pub list. What say you? Do you think Strickland makes it over CJ Moore or Garnes, or what direction do you think we go?
No, I think you're hitting on the head. I think CJ Moore is kind of the question mark at this roster point right now. I mean, you got Brandon Joseph. I think he emerged. The Giants game. I think he made the team there. If you're moving Brian Branch back to safety, Strickland's going to be hard. I mean, I think Dan Campbell's in love with Strickland, man. He said it multiple times, like Strickland's going to be hard to leave off this team. CJ Moore obviously was suspended last year for the gambling stuff. So, I know people like him just because of his experience and how long he's been on this team. I'm pretty sure he's been here since the Patricia era too. So
Right.
He's been here a while. He knows their team. He knows the coaching staff. So yeah, I mean, maybe he makes the team, but I know coming into last week at Kansas City, he was kind of the question mark whether or not he was going to make this team or not. So maybe Strickland makes it. Maybe CJ Moore just stays because of his versatility. But yeah, like I said, I think that's the 50-50 ball right now between CJ and Strickland.
So let's talk real quick, let's go to the cornerback and safety position. If you had to guess right now here today, we've had some guys out. We know, Terrion Arnold's been out for a minute. Rakestraw's been sidelined a bit. Who do you think is starting against the Rams week 1?
So I think your starting corners would be Carlton Davis, Terrion Arnold. I think Meek starts at slot, and then in the later season, I think Ennis gets it. I think Kirby's your starting safety. And then I think that would be your starting. So Carlton, Arnold, Meek, and maybe and then Kirby. And then you got to go. Yeah, that'd be your two corners and Carlton and Arnold. So, and then I think they're going to be subbing in and Meek and Ennis, and then Ennis takes over probably around week 3 or 4, maybe after the bye week. So, yeah.
Okay.
It's a good team to have, man. I was hoping we'd see Meek and Ennis because Ennis was dressed yesterday, which was really crazy. So I thought maybe we'd see him, but I thought I saw him for a little bit, but he wasn't out there. So I saw him on the sideline. He was in pads and stuff. And I was like, oh, maybe Ennis is going to get a couple more snaps. And, I think Meek just made the team even after the Kansas City game, obviously, but, they just were playing it safe. Like I said, I was very shocked when I saw Goff dressed yesterday, by the way. I was like, oh, God, here we go. Is Hendon Hooker our QB1? I'm just kidding,
Right.
guys.
I think let's talk about this real quick with Hendon Hooker. Obviously, the kid's got some real talent. He's going to need time to grow and mature into an NFL quarterback. He's just a rookie, in my opinion, right now. But I have to imagine the coaching staff and everybody who's watched this kid says, man, he's got a hell of an arm. He's got a huge body, man. He's got some lower leg strength, and he's got some speed. What say you? Do you think that Ben Johnson's going to toy with him and have maybe like 4 to 6 plays a game where they come on in and just really throw the opposing defense off?
Michigan did this and had some QB controversy, so let's not start that. We just paid Goff $350 million or whatever we paid him. No, I'm just kidding. No, I was at the game all day yesterday, man. I was like, man, why is Ben Johnson not running this man in bootlegs with his speed? And then right to cue, Ben Johnson puts him on bootlegs, and you could just see it, man. But I would. I mean, you could just tell when you're watching the game, like at first, we're running the ball up the gut and defenses are starting to just stack the box and whatever. And then once Hendon started moving with his legs, they had to and then he was just making plays, and he was scrambling for 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 yards of play. And yeah, I would. I mean, even in the red zone, run some QB reads, man. I mean, we had one with Goff last year. He scored. He was 1 for 1, against the Falcons. But, I think that would be another thing too with our, with Gibbs and Monty. I mean, you could run QB reads with Hendon and Monty and Gibbs. I mean, that would be good luck guarding that one. One pulls and one goes. You better hope you make the right read because it might be a house call, So
Right.
there was a couple times where I thought Hendon maybe could have tucked the ball on a bootleg instead, and he made some good decisions. He was, he'd roll out and he thought about throwing the ball. And I think he just knew in his head, like, hey, I shouldn't throw this ball. Let me just get the yards, get out of bounds, take the yards, and then, go after the next play. So, yeah, I mean, I would love to see it in the season just to kind of get him some real, under the light snaps.
Just real quick, I know a number noticed as I go through the chat here, a bunch of people asked about Rodrigo. So I had him on the pub list. So starting the year there, not on the active roster. So that's why I mentioned he was on the pub, but yeah, not on the lineup for either the Cuts practice squad or the current 53-man roster. Got him and a couple other guys on the pub list. All right. So now let's talk about, I guess, the burning question that everybody's going to be asking over the next 2 days or so. Does Brad Holmes make some trades? And if so, what is he targeting, in your opinion?
Definitely wide receiver. I think there's some names out there. We might be adding another Hutchinson to this team. Texans wide receiver. He's having a great preseason. I don't think they got room for him with their star-studded wide receiving core. So, he's about 6'3", 6'4". And then I could make a troll take, but is Kenny Galladay working anywhere? Matt Stafford made this man an all-pro for 2 years. What can Jared Goff do? He's only 30 years old and he's 6 whatever. He can go up and high point a ball. He had 1,000 yards receiving. So, I think you make a trade for wide receiver. I don't know what you're going to trade for. I don't even know who's out there. Maybe you find one that gets cut. But yeah, you need somebody, man. It sucks because like this is the one weak point of the whole team. You look at it like we're deep everywhere but this position. And everyone's screaming we should have kept Josh Reynolds, but $9 million is a lot of money for a guy that, I know he's a security blanket, but Denver, do us a favor, trade him back to us for like a 7th round pick here in like a couple of weeks, and we'll thank you. We'll reward you somehow. I don't know how.
Yeah, I think I'm with you on that. That the only spot that I would look to add, if we could get a 5th wide receiver, I think we're probably pretty good. But again, that takes into account that they haven't already Scooby-Dooed this and said, hey, Gibbs, Vaki are going to be basically our 5th receiver. That Laporta or another tight end Zylstra are going to be our 5th wide receiver. So I guess we'll have to wait and see when it comes to that. But my anticipation is that is going to be probably the one area we look to address, assuming we don't try to sign a Ryan Tannehill or somebody else to be the primary backup quarterback. So, all right, Hutch Jr., man, we have you on almost a half hour now. Why don't you go ahead and give yourself a shout out, tell everybody where to find you, how to find you, all that kind of stuff.
Hutch Jr., Lions super fan. I'll see some of you guys week 1. I'll be at most of the tailgates pretty early on Sunday. So if you guys are there, man, just reach out to me. You can find me on Twitter at the one and only Hutch Jr. You can find me on catchmyviberadio.com. You can catch me on here. You can find me on Facebook at Mike KEK. If you guys are always down to talk sports, just hit me up, man. We can always, discuss some stuff. But yeah, thank you guys for having me. I hope you guys have an amazing Sunday. I got a long fantasy draft ahead of me, about 6 hours. I'm going to go sit in the hot heat and draft some fantasy football players. I've already locked up Gibbs and Amon-Ra St. Brown. So, but outside of that, man, thank you for having me on this morning, and I hope you guys have a good day. And Super Bowl or bust, man. Day one's here, and there's already been some college football upsets. So,
what a day. Man. All right, man. Go enjoy the draft. Good luck with it, and thanks for hopping on.
Yeah, no, thank you for having me, man. Have a good day, guys.
We'll see you now. All right, let's head back over to the comments section. Ed, Brad has to get serious about signing a veteran quarterback. I think there's some possibility there, unless they're really enshrined into one of these guys as being the primary backup. We'll wait and see. Doc, what do you got? Hutch had to understand you at hard to understand you at times, brother. Speak a bit closer to the mic, please. Okay, fair enough. Let's see. Mitch, what do you got? Motown Mitch, Donovan Peoples-Jones fall off is due to his terrible quarterback play. Could be. Maybe the coaches feel that way too. That's possible. Dropped one ball all preseason and it was deflected. There you go. Ed, what do you got? No fishing today. Bo, storm moving in. Well, yeah, don't go out in the storm, my friend. See, Dennis, Don Peoples Jones, I wish he woke up. He might be. I mean, if he makes it, that's probably an indication that the coaching staff does have faith and confidence in him, that if he's out there with Goff or the starting offense, that he'll do much better. So that will be an interesting one for sure. Bo, sorry to hear that, Mr. Ed. Kurt Steele, the infamous, the living legend, Kurt Steele. I agree to an extent. Williams having to tell Donovan Peoples-Jones where to line up and him costing the team a timeout is a bad sign. Yeah, that's probably not too good at all, and I would agree with that, Kurt. Good take there. See, JDC, Bo Plant rocks. There you go. I like him, man. I really think they need to find a way to try to keep him. The question is, we're going to have the same, topic with Jamarco Jones. I think they should keep him. It's just, are you willing to get rid of somebody else in order to keep them? We'll see what shakes. Let's see, Burger Time, spot on, Kurt, 100%. There you go. Bo, me and Dre Forge will go way back. There you go. Doc, anyone else feel like Houston plays like he maybe doesn't want to be there? Question mark. No high effort and questionable body language. That I think he's going to be fine. I think he's dealing with that injury still. Hopefully it gets cleared up. I get he doesn't probably want to be a linebacker. It's just not his forte or thing. But if they cut him, then you might be spot on with that, Doc. JDC laughing out loud. Bo, Dre, spell check strikes again. It does. Let's see, Amy. Hi, Dan, Duke crew. Had a nice 2-game win streak preseason, but here we go. Chop, chop, chop. 100%. Time is ticking now. JDC, blankety blank spell check. There you go. Dr. Detroit, Don B. Kurt will be a great mod. No too many. Yeah, it's here anyways. Yeah. And I'm going to, a number of you guys have asked. I'm working on getting a couple others out there too. Let's see. Bo Sorsdale might be the earliest draft cut by Brad Holmes. He would be. And the only reason why I kept him over Jones is just the history Brad Holmes has with the draft picks. Sorsdale does have a lot of upside potential, but it's at some point that potential's got to be realized. He looks good one moment, not so good the other moment. So I don't know. If it's me in a Super Bowl window, I probably would have kept DeMarco, or would keep Jamarco Jones and make a cut elsewhere. Because again, I really think Jones could start on a third to half of the NFL teams, and the fact that you have him, man, that speaks volumes. See, Dennis Williams is a steal. It does appear to be so. Anthony, it's almost like Donovan Peoples-Jones just figured out he has a spot. His lackadaisical play and inability to separate is a serious problem. Yeah, and it might end up costing him. See, Dr. Detroit, we need a good wide receiver for depth, in your opinion? Yeah, I think they're probably going to try to look to acquire somebody. That's total speculation. No inside information or anything like that. Perryman, I agree with Hutch Jr. I like Jamarco Jones to make it. Yeah, me too, man. I think we're all on the same page there. Dennis Jones makes the team. Let's hope so. It's just, again, you're going to have to do something you historically, the trend isn't your friend on, but maybe they make it. Let's see. Kurt, Doc Carson, and now he played well yesterday. He's trying to find his footing because he was hurt for, half a training camp. Yeah, I think he's going to make it. I got to kind of recuse myself because I am a James Houston slappy, but I think he's going to make it. See, Mitch, what do you got? Same line. Sudfield stood behind, yet now it's the line's fault. Come on, man. Yeah, there's probably some truth to that. Anthony Sorsdale isn't going anywhere. He's still developing. He's only his second year. Yeah, and that's where, if you're going to go with him, I think that's got to be your mantra for Colby, is that he's got some good potential. He's got the mass. He's got the size. He's got a lot of good things, but he needs development. It would probably be a real strong indication if they move on from him. Maybe they just feel like they can't carry him and Manu at the same time. Manu has played well. I did see some reports yesterday kind of bashing on Gio. I have a completely different take on it. And I know I was talking to a couple of you guys after the show yesterday. A number of you guys sent me articles or texts and said, hey, this guy's saying, the Giovanni Manu really flamed out, didn't do well. And at least from when I watched the tape, because I tried to even go back last night and rewatch some aspects of it, I see nothing but upside with this guy. I think the development you've seen just in 3 preseason games is exponential. So at least my take on Giovanni Manu is this. I think he's a diamond in the rough. I think 2 years from now, when he's in his 3rd year, man, he might be a starting NFL caliber tackle. I'm not going to say left side, right side, or anything like that, but I think he's going to be something. Let's see, Doc, do not pick up Thomas out of, I don't know if they're going to. I know there's been some talk about it, but I don't see Michael Thomas ending up with the Detroit Lions. Been wrong before, though. Bo, Jamarco Jones has a spot somewhere. Yeah, if the Lions don't keep him, it will be like 15 seconds until you have a team acquire him. So we talked about potential trade options. If they're really on Sorsdale where they're going to keep him, then Jamarco Jones is probably one of your primary trade bits out there. JDC Magic 8 Ball says, seize the opponent by the shoulders and shake violently. They probably will do that. Kurt, Bo Booth, he doesn't make the Lions roster. Somebody will pick him up 100%. Yeah, real quick. See, Doc, Kurt, I'm rooting for him, but he worries me at times, though. Fingers crossed. We'll go with that. We'll cross our fingers. Bo, JDC, Renaissance in force. There you go. Bo, Kurt, absolutely. Kurt, Doc, he almost had multiple sacks. One played, he was clearly held, and the refs missed the call. Yeah, Houston causes problems, just with his flexibility, his bendability, his, is just nature of playing the game with so much agility and speed and burst. I get he might not be, unfortunately, an every down player, but he is an impact player, in my opinion. So we'll see what shakes out with him. Mitch, what do you got? Houston and Betts had a really good games yesterday. Yeah, unfortunately, you can't keep them all. I've got Betts making the practice squad, but I've been surprised with other outcomes before. Boss up, UP, do crew, go Lions, 100% JDC. I'll go with that. Kurt, JDC, what up, though? JDC, killing time, Kurt. David, hope Betts makes it. Yeah, I think he's on the outside looking in, but that's just a reflection of just how strong that group is. Doc, Kurt, ability has never been his weakness. It's consistency he has. Obviously, injuries, but I have seen plays where he looks kind of like he taking it easy. Hope, yeah. I think a lot of those might be when he's playing the linebacker positions, and the lack of familiarity, it's like him walking on the moon. It's just different for him. Kurt Steele, I hate to hear the news about Iffy. This will be his last season in Detroit. If he's hurt again and out for a while, the team probably is not going to look to retain him. It's just too long of an injury history for him. See, Anthony, Lions Talk Live, not Broski Talk Live. Yeah, I don't think we've even had a Broski in here today, have we? One of the others. See, Motown, why do you say this is Iffy's last year, Kurt? I think it's just because this is his contract year. If he can't play or go much this year, they probably aren't looking to resign him unless it's a very team-friendly deal. JDC, haven't seen Broski. Hey, Broski. And I think he's in church today, if I remember correctly. Dennis, I hope if he gets healthy, Kurt. Me too. Doc, hope when it's go time, he can really mash that broken ankle to the pedal. He's definitely capable. Yeah, and he's had over a year to heal it. I get it seems a little tender still, but like I said, once he gets past that first step, he seems to forget all about it. Kurt, I like Broski, but dueling Broskis was messing up the chat. Yeah, and I'm glad we don't have to deal with that anymore. Bo, Lord Vormer is not here on Sundays. There you go. JDC, I didn't like to see the stereo Broskis. There, the dual Broskis. Anthony agreed 100%. Man of Steel. Man Bear, Bo Booth just added you to Facebook, bro. Okay. Let's see. Big Daz, good morning, Coach and Do Crew. Oh, yeah. I pretty much agree with your picks. I think the GM better get busy or he's going to lose a lot of players for nothing. Yeah, my guess is they've already had conversations probably from like last week, Tuesday or Wednesday with teams. Everybody trying to establish a baseline for this guy's value. Are you going to move on from this guy? Now, yesterday during the game, I have zero doubt GMs everywhere were talking on the phone, text, or whatever to other teams and other GMs. Today, that's where I think it really intensifies. We've already seen across the NFL a lot of trades happen. Chicago's been very, very active. So has Cleveland. So I think today and tomorrow, you're going to see a lot of that trend continue, especially as we get closer to the final 53. Tuesday could be, it could almost be like the draft. You could have something coming in, every couple of minutes. Let's see, Kurt, what do you got? Motown Mitch, this is his fourth season, and his injury history will make him tough to re-sign for the staff. Best ability is availability. I go with that always. Bo, got you, Man Bear. Woo! All the above. Let's see, David, time for the regular season now. Let's roar. Let's roar into the regular season. Doc Summers has a bit of a throwback in him. Yeah, him and Bo plan, it is a total flip of the coin who you keep there. The one thing I would say in defense of Bo plan is you've seen him multiple weeks here. Summer is not as long, so maybe you go with him just because of that. See, Manberg laughing out loud. Nice. Anthony, have to understand things we didn't see in practice is taken into consideration in Brad and MCDC's decisions on who stays and who goes. 100% with that. Now, again, talking about Strickland earlier, for one of the safety spots, I mean, that's another tough one. I mean, if it was me, I'd keep him over CJ Moore. CJ Moore, long time with the Lions and the franchise, great on special teams. I just don't know if he really gives you much on defense. That's my problem. But with that also being said, the Lions special teams have not looked very good. Kurt, Doc Carson, that cowboy collar is old school. It is, man. It is. Motown, did Iffy get injured? Yes, against Kansas City. Anthony, yes, Motown. Nothing serious. Let's hope not. See, Kurt, Motown Mitch, yes, MCDC said in his post-game presser that he doesn't know when he'll be back. Doc, Kurt, some Spielman vibes. There you go. Kurt, Don Burr, yeah, he played hard. Doc Carson, yeah, he played hard. Jake from State Farm was dealing out there yesterday. He was. I thought he was very impressive. Again, not to keep bringing up the same points, but the fact he went through progressions after, 3 practices? He went through the first read, second read pretty quick. And then what really got me is that deep pass over the middle that I think he did twice. The fact that he could lay that up so accurately with limited reps with the receivers and put it over the second layer of the defense and drop it in before the third layer. I mean, that's something a lot of NFL quarterbacks that are starters don't pull off effortlessly. I get it was against third stringers, the guys that are going to be, working somewhere else come, Tuesday, but it's still the fact that he pulled that off repeatedly. That's nice. Anthony, nice chat, dude. Crew, gotta go on. AC Knetzer awaits my expertise to continue. It's life hard. Okay, well, go enjoy the workday, Anthony, and thanks for all you do for the channel. Bo, we had a tale of two Jakes. There you go. Kurt, Anthony, and Cunningham, take care. Let's see, Bo, Anthony, Screaming Eagles, Cunningham. There you go. Phil, Rodrigo is hurt. Yes, he is. Kurt Steele, Bo Booth, exactly. Motown Mitch. Hooker made some good runs, but missed several wide open receivers. Hooker needs a lot of work. He does. He's got some time. He needs time to grow and develop for sure. All right, Mike the Marine Gunny. Howdy, Dan and Duke Crew slept in. Woo! Hey, it happens to the best of us, man. It happens. Let's see, Bo up in the morning with the rise sun Gunny. There you go. Kurt Steele, Motown Mitch. He got better as the game progressed, but he is still a rookie in every sense of the word. Yeah, I agree with that. He's going to have to get more time to acclimate himself to the NFL game. Croc Gable, what do you got? Bates struggled on short field goals. Take a few penalties and back him up. That might be something to do there. They've got a real situation with him. I think, in my opinion, for the preseason games, he's had a very good showing. Yesterday was not that great showing, though. Missing the 30-whatever yard field goal, having 2 kickoffs go out of bounds. But the fact that they haven't brought in somebody else to compete with him leads me to believe they're comfortable with him. They understand what he is. He is a work in progress. So if they're going to keep working with him, keep developing him, they believe they can get him to where they need him to be. Kim, Galladay, dang, yeah, 100%. Bo, Gable, interesting tactics. There you go. Motown Mitch, what do you got? You're right, Kurt. As the depth chart went down for the Steelers, he did improve. But in a game depth chart won't go down. This is true. Yeah, he's going to have to get used to playing with the ones. But the other side of that would be, too, Mitch, that he would be out there with the starters. Bo Booth, what do you got? Tampa Bay game tailgate party, 100%. JDC, happy trails, go Lions victory. Phil, don't let people who's to letting people be who they are. Dan wants this to be Lions show. Yeah, 100%. Not letting. Correct. Bo Booth, happy trails to you. All done and dusted. See y'all tomorrow. We'll see you then. Brent, hey, dude, crew, overslept and have to rewatch later. Hey, it happens. It's a Sunday, man. Motown Hooker did great with his legs. Maybe he can take some handoffs this year outside of what we need to pray we don't see the field. Yeah, give him time to develop. They're going to keep growing him. Motown Mitch can take. There you go. Brent, happy trails, one pride. See, Phil, Broski is fine. You just so worried about Broski. Have 101 temperature this weekend. Well, hopefully you rest up and heal up. All right, guys, I'm going to go ahead and get out of here. We went over a little bit on time, but we'll get a few others who haven't been on yet Brian, good morning, fellas. It's almost game time. Let them cook week 1, 100% there. Jake Fromm is the best backup quarterback on the team. That might be true. Phil, thanks for the overtime, Dan. Hey, no worries, man. Man, we were really going overtime here. Let's see. What do we got? Michigan made Isaiah Williams should take Josh Reynolds snaps. He just might. He just might indeed. Brent, everybody thought I was crazy when I said when I told them Fromm was a gamer and would be a better backup than Sudfeld, and he just might end up winning that spot. You never know. Sanders, when do they announce rosters? That will be Tuesday. Phil, roster come out Monday or Tuesday. Tuesday, I think it is. Let's see. Thanks, Phil. Hookadoo, I believe it's Tuesday. Correct. All right, guys. Anybody else? DeBerta. Woo! There you go. Even though I know you're a big fan of the Woos, there you go. Michael D, thanks for a great show anytime. All right, guys, I'll go ahead and get out of here. If there is some sort of breaking news today, I'll get it over to you. Otherwise, if you haven't yet subscribed, please consider doing so. We're like 50 subs away from 7,500. So if you can help out with that, that'd be great. There are, over 700 people watching live right now. So if everybody could just real quick before they check on out, go ahead and hit that thumbs up button. I surely would be thankful. Otherwise, take care. Enjoy the rest of your day. Do something nice for someone you don't know. And we'll see you all on the next Lions Talk Live. Take care, everybody.
Happy trails to you until we meet again.